welcome to another episode of the Leading Lessons podcast, allowing us to connect to business owners around the country and around the world, talking about what's made them successful in business and what helps them keep winning every single day. And this week, I have the owner of Digi Discounts, Easton, to talk to us about how he partners with business owners across the country to help get their name out there along the way. So, Easton, thanks for being part of the conversation.
Yeah, Justin, I'm very excited to be on the podcast. We connected a couple weeks ago. I'm honored to be here to tell what we're doing and to give some insight into what I'm doing personally as well for my personal health. So thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And I know that you and I have a very similar thought process of helping business owners get their name out there and just really help with their marketing strategies and their overall storytelling along the way. So what exactly do you do for business owners and what do you focus on?
Yes, so Digi Discounts is a platform that helps small businesses grow. When I say small businesses, I mean your local bakeries, your crystal shops, your flower shops, your massage therapist, your restaurants. We can do B2B and we can do B2C. All they have to do is offer discounts through our platform. We take no fees. We take no commissions on sales. We market those discounts they give us across 10 platforms on social media. They can also appear on our podcast. All of that is free. And our whole goal, like I mentioned, is to support your small local businesses. Another thing we do is we drive sales directly to their website or their store. So we don't do any transactions inside our app. We send them to their website, send them to their brick and mortar store so they can build a relationship with their customer to make sure that they are having that long-term, relationship with them.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, for small businesses, the name of the game is marketing. If they can't get their name out there, they're going to close their doors just as quickly as they opened it. And along the way, they're going to lose a lot of money because there's a lot of different marketing strategies and gurus that end up just taking the money and running rather than actually helping them. So when you were kind of coming up with the idea of the business, what kind of propelled you in this direction to say this is an opportunity to build value?
So in the beginning, as we started to talk to more and more business owners, we realized that this is something that they really needed. On other platforms, when they're getting exposure, they're having to pay either a fee or a commission. So that's hurting their margins. Plus, on top of that, they have to give a discount. So if a business is giving, let's say, a 20% discount, they're paying the platform 40 to 50%. They're losing 60 to 70% of their margin. So as we talked to more businesses, as we did more research, we realized this is something that they not only wanted, but they needed because, as you mentioned, small businesses, they need visibility. And for most of the ways, they have to pay for it. Mm-hmm. And they can't survive paying all of these people and all these businesses just to get visible. So we were like, okay, let's make a platform where we can win, the business can win, and the user can win all at the same time while uplifting everyone and making sure that they succeed.
That's awesome. There's a lot of different ways that businesses get their name out there. And you're right. It really comes down to, does the dollars make sense? Because for a new business owner, having to pay $10, $15, $20, $25 a lead or a view is not really, reachable. It's not possible because it's going to eat away so much of that margin, so much of that money and operating costs to allow them to even sustain to begin with. And for a lot of business owners, the biggest thing is I have a message and I want to be able to share it. So talk to me about how you help them specifically. I know you mentioned putting their name out there. Talk to me a little bit about the podcast.
So on the podcast side of things, our whole goal is to not only highlight our partners and their businesses, but share the human side of them. Mm-hmm. So yes, business is cool. And obviously we want to get their expertise out there. We want to drive them sales. We have them talk about whatever they want on the business side, but also on the human side, people want to know about the business owner. What is it like being a father? Mm-hmm. What is it like, struggling with your mental health or your spirituality? What is it like, or what are your religious views? Like these things that these people value, their customers or their new customers or their potential customers want to know. And if you're a father and you see another business owner, your local restaurant, talk about what it's like being a father of two, that is a way for our businesses or just businesses in general to relate to their potential customers. And they're going to bring in new customers. If there's a father and they relate to other fathers, they're probably going to come to the business. Mm-hmm. They're going to shop there. They're going to spend money. So it's a way for us to not only promote our partners and their human side, but we also have people on that we like or that we think are doing cool things. Like we've done nonprofits. I've done 4 or 5 nonprofits, having them tell their story, how they're impacting their local communities. So really just a way for us to promote our partners, promote cool people doing awesome stuff. And then also it's a way for us to get more marketing, get our name out there, promote our platform, and then promote what we're doing on the podcast side of things.
I think you hit the nail right on the head. Everyone has a story to tell, and it's fun to help other people win. And you mentioned something, which is, letting businesses talk about the things that aren't necessarily business related, the real life things that they're going through in their personal lives. And everybody has a different upbringing. They have a different perspective because of the experiences they had. And I know, Easton, you had a really interesting upbringing and life experience that kind of got you into entrepreneurship to begin with. Want to share a little bit about that?
I would love to. This is something that I wouldn't say more passionate about business, but it's definitely right next to my business passion. To kind of start in the beginning, I was born a premature baby, meaning I was born earlier than expected. So I was supposed to be born in March of 2000. I was born in December of 1999. This led me to have a lot of problems, starting off with being born at 2 pounds, which for people that can't imagine that in their heads, my dad's ring could fit on my bicep. I was so small. And with being born so early and so little, this led to problems. One problem was I had to have surgery 18 days after being born on my heart, and which left me with a scar on my back that has grown to probably this size. I then was sent home, and I had 13 medications I had to be on. I had to be on a oxygen unit, and just a whole slew of problems that came with that. And then as I was growing up, that experience left me with a lazy eye, left me with a lisp, left me with a stutter. It also left me with a bunch of mental health issues, OCD, depression, anxiety, all of that fun that I feel like a lot of people deal with. And I think this experience really grounded me in the fact, and thanks to my parents, into the fact that I can change my life, and kind of brought up this like, oh my gosh, I've had these problems, and then I can go ahead and change them, and that's possible.
And everybody has a story. And I'm going to keep saying that because you never really know what that story is until you get the opportunity to share it. And for you start day one with a lot of obstacles in your way. And then you went into entrepreneurship, which we know is obviously hurdle after hurdle after obstacle after obstacle. How did you use some of the things that you learned as early as day one, or started learning as early as day one, and how did that carry into your business life as well?
The number one thing was the fact that your life can always change. So just because you're in a certain situation right now, for example, for business, let's say your current business just failed, or you're not loving what you're doing anymore, that doesn't mean that this has to be the end. You can fix your life. You can change certain scenarios. And I think what it really did is it brought this sense of joyfulness into my life. And what I mean when I say joy is being able to enjoy and truly love every single moment of life, even though it might be shitty or it might be very uncomfortable. And in the sense of business, that might be a business partner quitting on us. That might be losing a bunch of money. That might be just not enjoying the period of business that you're in. As you know, business is very up and down.
Right.
So I think being able to sit there and enjoy and be like, hey, I'm not comfortable in this situation. One, how can we fix it? Because it is possible. And two, even though it is a shitty situation or a very uncomfortable situation, I'm still going to enjoy the process of life that is business and that is life.
And I think so many people forget that this life that we have is a blessing. Even on the worst days, it's still better than not being around at all. I was talking to a gentleman this morning talking about how it's so easy for people to default to just anger and hate. And they never sit back and think, what if I wasn't here? Like, how would that be different? And for the most part, I would believe that by someone not being here, it's not going to help the world. It's only going to make something harder along the way. And for you, when you're going through those trials and tribulations of business and life and stuff like that, what kind of helps you get over that hump? Other than just saying it's going to get better, which we all know at some point it is going to get better. But other than just telling yourself that, what else do you do to help get through that?
I think for me, it's all about staying grounded and making sure I'm doing everything around the scenario to make sure I'm staying grounded. And what I mean by that is, am I eating healthy? Am I working out? Am I meditating? What other things can I control in my life to make my life better that is going to help me in the things that I can't control? That's really key, because if I'm not eating healthy, if I'm not in shape, then the things that I can't control are going to suck 100 times more than if I was taking care of those things. I also think that being in a position, like I mentioned before, to always thinking that I can improve this situation in some way and not being in that victim mentality of like, okay, this situation might not be the best. It might suck. It might even be very uncomfortable. But I know there is a way that if we continue to search, that we can solve it. And solving it might not be in the way of it's going to fix this situation, but solving it might be pivoting to a new thing. Solving it might be, hey, I'm going to not do anything. I'm going to take a break and I'm going to step back and I'm going to let the universe or God or the source kind of take over, because the things that I think, the situations and the path of life that I might think is the best might not be the best of what is actually out there and what, is actually going to happen.
For me, it's just keep doing what you're doing, right? Keep doing the little things at 100% effort every single day. You might not make leaps and bounds of progress tomorrow, but compounding effect over a long period of time, and then looking back on it in a month's time, 3 months' time, 6 months' time, and saying, look how much further I am now that I took that first step and I kept taking that one next best option, that next best thing given the situation. You're still going to measure yourself on, and it's going to come out as a success because you're further than you were 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, whatever that measurement of time is. And I think that's where entrepreneurs fail, right?
I don't.
I was gonna. Go ahead.
I definitely think that is the number one struggle, is definitely consistency. Am I willing to go through the dirt and through the hard times to see the success that I do want to have? And like you mentioned, even in the podcasting world, as we both know, most podcasters quit after 3 to 5 episodes. So it's definitely that ability to stay consistent for sure.
It's just the little things, right? It's, okay, I didn't get the exact result I wanted today, but what can I do to get one step further? Is it one extra reach out message? Is it one extra follow-up message? Is it one thank you text? Like, you never know the power of that one small incremental thing that you do and how explosive it can be. I mean, even something as simple as, I'll use you as an example. I connect with you and immediately I had 8 to 9 podcasts lined up and ready to go. I wouldn't have gotten that if I didn't take that one step of saying, hey, thank you so much for connecting. This is what I'm asking a little bit. What do you think is the value of asking for help? Because I know most people don't like doing that.
This is one of my favorite things to talk about, and I talk about it with so many new entrepreneurs or just so many people in general. I think there's 2 things when it comes to this. I think one is realizing that it is okay to ask for help. By asking for help, it's not you saying, oh, I suck, or I'm not good enough. I think just being okay of like, it is okay to ask for help, and people are waiting. There are so many people that are just waiting for you to ask them to do something, or ask to be on your podcast, or ask to collaborate. But I think a lot of people don't give themselves permission because they either think, if I ask for help, that means I'm not strong, or if I ask for help, that means I'm not capable of doing what I'm doing. Second, I think a lot of people assume that the other person knows that they need help. They're like, oh, well, I kind of hinted at it in our conversation, so he knows. And I tell people all the time, if you want something, ask directly and be blunt, because people do not assume that you want something. And by you asking directly, it's telling them exactly what you want and how to help you. So if you're like, hey, I am a tree cutter and I'm looking for new clients that are in this area. So now when I'm going out and I'm meeting people, I know exactly what that person wants and how I can help them. Versus being like, well, I kind of do this. Well, then I don't know how to really help you if you're not giving me a straight ask. So I definitely think it comes down to, one, being okay asking and knowing that that doesn't mean that you can't do what you're asking to do. And 2, being blunt about exactly what you want, because people aren't assuming what you need help with.
Where do you think that fear of asking for help derives from? Because for me, I was always told if you want something, ask for it. Closed mouths don't get fed. You have to feed yourself. So let's go ahead and
Yeah.
get the help that you need. Societally, where do you think people stopped asking for help, or why do you think that is?
I think people are nervous to look silly. Like I mentioned before, they don't want to ask because it means that they aren't, or in their mind, it means that they aren't capable of doing what they're doing. So I think it's an ego thing. They don't want to actually ask for help because it makes them look silly to themselves. And two, I think it really comes down to I think most people want to do it themselves. They don't want to ask for help because they're like, I want to do this myself. I want to prove to myself that I can do it and I don't need help. I don't want to ask for someone because I want to go do it myself. And I also think the schooling system has a huge influence in this. For example, what is the number one thing that we hear when it comes to homework, when it comes to tests? Don't ask for help. Don't ask for help. Do it yourself. You can't ask your partner. And I think schooling drills this into us of like, we can't ask for help. We have to do it on our own. We have to say, I can do this. And so I think just this idea that we're drilled from the age of kindergarten to high school or middle school of like, don't ask for help, do it yourself. But look what happens when we do ask for help. And in real life, asking people for the answer gets you farther than trying to do it yourself.
I was listening to Dan Martell talk about this exact thing because I believe that the education system doesn't prepare someone for actually what that next step of life actually is. Like, yeah, it's good to have this back knowledge of all these different topics. Like, I think foundationally, the core competencies of school to teach people basic skills are there. But the actual process of surviving isn't found until you actually step foot in that real world. You have people that sit through, K through 12 and then another 4 years of college. So they're getting out of school at 21, 22 years old, and they still don't know the basic information that they need to actually function because they were never taught how to find it. And Dan Martell talks a lot about this with AI, right? Being able to utilize your tools because the fact of the matter is when you get into the real world, you have tools that help you. You can jump on your phone and get any information that you need at any given time at the palm of your hand. You can maximize ChatGPT. You can maximize Copilot. You can use these tools because you're never, ever, ever supposed to memorize every piece of information. It's delusional for someone to think that. And I think the school systems focusing on, you have to do this on your own. You have to memorize all this. It doesn't help them actually adapt the skill sets like critical thinking and problem solving that they need when they get into the real world. So societally, how can people help the next generation or the upcoming generations to start doing that?
I think people can continue to talk about their story and show the youth that you don't need a college degree to succeed. You don't need to be a student to actually succeed. And I think making it normal by other people sharing their experience to the youth is important. Because once the youth knows that, wow, he did it, and if he did it and he came from the same high school I came from, that means I can do it too. And I think the youth need some role models that aren't the school counselors, that aren't the teachers. They need people that are actually out doing things and doing the things that they inspire to do and giving them permission to actually do them, to be a video game streamer, to start creating content, to start that business, and giving the youth permission of like, hey, you don't have to follow the path and do what the school tells you to. But it's very difficult because, as we both know, the schooling system was based on creating workers. It was based on rote memorization, like you mentioned. So I think we're fighting a system where it is difficult and it is going to be hard. But I definitely think it just all comes down to awareness and making the youth aware of like, hey, you don't have to follow this path. What if you just even start looking into this path and all this is possible?
I think even just encouraging them to fail and not crucifying them for failure. You think of the school system, for example, like it's very heavy on no one got higher than a this on the test or this, that, the other thing.
Yes.
They always talk about how failure is so bad, but in the real world, we see time and time and time again that failure is what leads you to your next success. Yeah. But the failures in high school, for example, if someone is college bound, if that is a dream in the direction that someone wants to go into, we tell them like, oh no, you have to be a straight A student. You have to get this, otherwise you're not going to get the school you want, which means you're not going to be successful, which means you're going to end up with a factory job. Well, I guarantee the person that started that factory 80 years ago probably doesn't even have a high school degree. He probably
Yeah.
started it on a whim and he said, I see an opportunity to build growth. And yes, I'm not saying that college is bad. I'm not saying the school system's completely broken, but I think from a core competency standpoint, from a survival skill standpoint, it's not really equipping the youth and people through the system for what they're going to actually see when they get on the in the real world.
And I think that also ties into to your question in the beginning of why don't people ask for help? And I think that's one of the biggest reasons is they don't want to fail. They don't want to be rejected. They don't want to have someone tell them no, because in their minds, and I think a lot of us have struggled with this, of if he tells me no, that means I'm not good. And their response is a direct reflection of me. So if he's telling me no, that means I have to stop what I'm doing. And I think that fear of rejection is what stops people from doing a lot of things like asking for help.
And you touched upon something that I want you to expound upon a little bit. You talked about having role models along the way to encourage them to make those decisions, to make themselves uncomfortable. And I think that's a big piece too. Like I remember growing up, there was big brothers, big sisters, when in reality, it was just someone to hang out with for a little bit. But it wasn't deliberate to actually help them grow as a person, helping teach them the things like it's okay to fail. It's okay to take one on the chin because it's going to help you get better later. When you were coming up to be in entrepreneurship and stepping out into starting your own business, what was your role models looking like at that time? And what were they saying to you so that it encouraged you to take that step?
So I have two people that really stand out. One is in the beginning of my life that shaped everything. That was my parents. Obviously, as we talked about before, me struggling with a lot of things. They could have easily just said, Easton, you're stuck with this and this is life and that's it. But they really pushed this idea that Easton, let's go get it fixed. Let's try to go get it fixed. Let's talk to experts that know more than us. Let's try to push the boundaries and let's try to step outside and let's try to fix your problems. And that always folded into my parents saying, Easton, just go try. Like at least try. Give your best. Push hard. So my parents were a big influence in me growing up and instilling this mindset in me that it is okay to try. And then also they helped me with this narrative of Easton, go build relationships, build those long-term relationships with people. Networking is everything. Then on the other side, in high school, junior year, Gary Vee was the person that took me from wanting to go to college and play lacrosse on a scholarship junior year to senior year, not wanting to go to college at all and having this mindset of maybe there's more. So Gary Vee was a huge influence on me shifting my mindset of, oh, I want to go play lacrosse and on a scholarship to maybe you can do more. Maybe college isn't the way. And I didn't even really dive into entrepreneurship until the age of 19. And so from junior year, which is age of 17 to probably 19, it was Gary Vee all the way. I was watching him. He was instilling this mindset of you can do more. You can reach your full potential, question the system. And he was a huge early building block in my entrepreneur career.
And that's a mentor that you probably, maybe you've met once or twice, but he may not be able to pick you out in a lineup, I would guess. You sought out to expose yourself to the content and the messages that was going to help you at that time. And I think that's one thing that I'm seeing a lot. People don't know who to follow. They don't know who to listen to. There's so many different messages from so many different people, riddled with all of the disinformation and misinformation along the way, that finding the person that you can really hook your wagon to and really follow and really try to emulate along the way is difficult nowadays.
It is. I think there's a lot of information. There is a lot of information out there and you hear so many different opinions that even contradict each other. Of this person said do this thing, but then this person said do this thing, and they're both backed by research. So I would definitely say that's a negative of social media. Is you have so many opinions, you have so many people that are experts in their field, and they're telling you two completely different things, and you're like, how do I actually figure out what I want to follow? And I think that just comes down to diving deep in yourself of like, do I align with this person? Is this where I want to go? And then have I done my research on like other people? Like, okay, I'm into real estate and I listen to Grant Cardone, but then I listen to Robert Kiyosaki.
Mm-hmm.
They have two different opinions, but what actually aligns with my goals and what do I truly want to do? Not am I following Grant Cardone because he's rich?
I think the other piece is the fact that everybody is going to have a perception based on their specific, unique experience. And I think along the way, when you sift through all the brain rot that's on the internet and you sift through all the absolute lies and misinformation, you have to look back and say, does this person have the life and the experiences that I want to have? Because I'm not going to listen to somebody that doesn't have the life that I would dream to have or components of it. Just like I'm not going to ask someone that's been divorced 5 times for relationship advice. That's probably not a good source of information. I'm probably not going to talk to the guy that can't rub 2 pennies together about how to save money. It's going to be a little bit different based on the individual's goals. And I don't think there's one person better than the other. I think it's just very determined based on what you want to get out of it. And when you find somebody that is speaking the language that you understand, that you comprehend, but also has what you want at the end of it, it allows us to be able to maximize how it's going to transfer into our day-to-day. Because information without action is just words.
Absolutely.
And Easton, I mean, I know that when you were starting your business, you kind of expressed to me, going into business for yourself and then finding partners along the way and building a business relationship. What was that like? Was your partner initially someone that you thought, oh, this is a no-brainer, I'm going to be working with him forever? Or did it look differently?
So I met my business partner, Brian Costas, and shout out to my co-founder, Brian. I love him. He's awesome. I met him in the cryptocurrency space. We met on Discord. We have never met in person. We have no desire to meet in person because when we meet in person, we're going to talk about the same stuff that we're talking about on the phone. And when I met with him, and we've talked about this before, he was recruiting me to join his NFT project that he was working with another team with. And he was on my ass all the time. He was DMing me. He was annoying me. And I was like, dude, like this guy, he keeps texting me. I don't want to hop on a call with him. And then as we started to work together in the crypto space, we were like, oh my gosh, we are aligned on many levels, but most importantly, the values of how we want to treat people and how we want to go about actually working together. As that relationship evolved over the last 2.5 to 3 years that we've now been working together, we have built a strong, trustworthy relationship where, as I said, we haven't even met in person and we have been on meetings together. We've done deals together with people. We've made money. And as we started building out that relationship early on, we just kept talking to each other. And I think as we sat down, as we just built that relationship on a value-based relationship, we're like, okay, this is someone that I want to work with. This is someone who has values and who matches our integrity. Mm-hmm. And as we started to deal with problems, which then exposes people, we realized, okay, we actually are aligned. Mm-hmm. You can handle stress. You can actually deal with people that you might not like, and we can do things under pressure. And that's when we really show each other like, okay, we have values. Mm-hmm. We have integrity. We are truly aligned. And then as we started to go through those stepping stones of things happening that we really didn't want, really, okay, we are down to ride. We are actually down to make this journey, to build this business, to actually struggle and do the things that are necessary to succeed. Mm-hmm. And so I think I am so grateful that I met him, and I've told him this many times that he is the person that I need. I have had multiple business partners in the past where they didn't align, and I am very of the forward facing of the business. He handled a lot of the back end stuff, even though he really didn't want to. So I think finding that person that I really could trust and that was my partner, my complete opposite, was so important.
You brought up morals and values, and someone once told me that this is America. Anybody can make $1 million. But if you have to sacrifice your morals and your values to get that $1 million, that's someone that I'd rather just never meet, and I hope to never talk to them. Because their moral compass is going to not only drive their income, it's going to drive their impact. And when you're chasing either income or impact, you pick one. One of them, you only get one. The other one, you do get both. When you're chasing the impact you can make, you're going to make money along. And I think that good people do wonderful things with money. I mean, look at charities, philanthropic organizations. Money is necessary to do good in this world. However, I think that bad people do a lot of crappy things in this world as well with that same money that they could have been using for other things. So I love that you bring up morals in business because a lot of people, they sell away their soul, they sell away their morals for that payday. Have you seen that firsthand?
That's actually something we want to change. Our parent company of DigiDiscounts is called Pi Worldwide, PI Worldwide, and it stands for Pure Intentions. That is our guiding factor of our entire business. Everything we do has to be pure intended. Because if it's not, the universe is not going to work with us. That is something we want to change in business. We want to bring back transparency. We want to bring back ethics. We want to bring back customer service. My business partner always talks about the Wolf of Wall Street mentality of I had to screw over this grandmother for her pension, but I made $1 million, so it's great. So that is something we've seen, I think, even be put on a pedestal of I made money, so I'm cool. It doesn't matter what I did. So that is definitely something we want to change and we want to bring to the forefront of, hey, we can do business and it doesn't have to be this cutthroat environment and both parties can win.
Yeah, I mean, I think that has shaped so many sales organizations, that exact mindset. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that Wolf of Wall Street is a hysterical movie, but if you're taking it as business lecture, that's probably not a business that's going to be sustainable because all you're going to do is build an empire on lies and mistrust, and that's not a strong foundation. It's going to come crumbling down. So thank you for bringing that up. I think that's so vital. And we only have a couple more minutes here, but Easton, if you had one final thought or one last thing you want to leave with the audience today, what would that be?
I would say on a business side of things, DigiDiscounts is here to support small businesses. And we want to be that guiding company that truly uplifts and truly supports these small businesses. Like we talked about earlier, if that's having them on our app, if that's featuring them on our podcast, if that's connecting them to other partners or podcast guests. DigiDiscounts wants to be that guiding light for small businesses that truly helps them and truly provides a outlet to get them visible and to get them seen and get them heard to the public. And we can work with any type of business from your local mom and pop crystal shop to your bakery to a bowling alley. So we just want to be that guiding light for all those small businesses out there that either can't pay those fees or just don't want to pay the fees on, like those other platforms that are charging them or just other businesses in general.
And Easton, if someone wanted to kind of hear more about what you can do for their business, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
They can reach out to me personally on any social media platform. I am on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and it's at Easton Gladney, all one word. And they can just comment on my posts. They can DM me. I work 7 days a week. They can say, hey, Easton, I would love to collaborate. Let's hop on a call. We can hop on a call that day or that week. Or they can reach out to us through DigiDiscounts, and we're on 10 social media platforms for that business as well. Again, comment on our post or DM us, and we can hop on a call and chat and see how we can work together. We are not afraid to see how we can collaborate with any type of business, even if that means us not working together today. We could maybe work together in 5 or 10 years. So I would love to connect with anyone that is watching this and just see how we can collaborate.
Awesome. Well, Easton, thank you so much for being part of the conversation this week. And for everybody listening, new episodes are posted every Tuesday on YouTube and can be found on all major social media platforms at leadinglessons.com and at Jay the Sales Guy on TikTok. So thank you so much for being part of the conversation. I'll see you next week.
Awesome.
Good episode.